Hello, my name is Lauren Blanton, and I am a candidate to receive my master's degree in educational technology through the University of South Carolina, Aiken. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be showing you my program portfolio and discussing my growth that I have experienced over the past 2 years. I am a very young teacher. I just graduated with my bachelor's degree in May of 2014, and I started this program in the fall of 2014. While I have only been teaching for 2 years, I have worked at 3 different levels of education. I worked at the University of South Carolina upstate for 1 semester. I worked at Chapman High School for 1 semester, and I'm now at Mabry Middle School this year. So through the 3 levels of education, there's one thing that I noticed that all students had in common, and that was their passion for technology. Every student that I have taught has had some type of technology, a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, something that they use daily that keeps them connected with technology. And I realized that my goal as a teacher was not just to teach them my subjects, but it was also to incorporate technology into my lessons so that they could see that technology has a positive benefit on education. And I think this educational technology program was the perfect fit for me for that reason. So while students are students, they still love the chance to use technology, and through this educational technology program, I have learned ways to successfully implement it in my classroom. I have learned many things in this educational technology program, one of those being how to build my own website. With the knowledge I've learned in previous courses, I have also made my website web accessible for those who use screen readers. Not only did I learn information about how to build a website, I also learned how to create different artifacts. At the time, I did not necessarily know these artifacts were going to come together in one big portfolio and show my growth, but looking back, I can obviously see where I started and where I ended. With the educational technology program, there were 5 standards that we worked on throughout the 2 years to show that we have learned what we needed to learn. There are a few artifacts that I want to show you, and I'm going to start with standard 1. I decided to start with standard 1 because I feel like that's one of the biggest areas that I have noticed growth, and one of the areas that has really helped me through this program and really helped me incorporate what I've learned into my teaching profession. Standard 1 is content knowledge, how to create, use, and assess using the different knowledges and principles that we have regarding technology. And the first artifact I decided to use for content knowledge was something I created in my very first course, EDET 603. The assignment that I chose was the Web 2.0 Toolshed project. This was essentially looking up different Web 2.0 tools, summarizing them, seeing what all they can do, and posting like a reference sheet of all of these tools and how we could use them. So I went from creating a wiki space, researching Web 2.0 tools, and putting all that information on my wiki space to my artifact 2, which is from my EDET 650 course, which was my internship. I completed my internship at Mabry Middle School under our media specialist. And my job for my internship was to create endless technology resources for our school. Our school district is on its way to being completely one-to-one. Mabry Middle School is already one-to-one where every student has their own Chromebook. So with this new technology rollout, our administration needed technology resources for the teachers. So I'm going from my EDET 603 course and looking up all of these Web 2.0 tools and talking about how I could use them and posting them on my wiki space, to actually creating resources using those Web 2.0 tools. And those resources were actually used and incorporated by other teachers in our school building. And not only are other teachers using it, I am also using it. So now I'm at the point where I'm actually using the technology that I used to talk about. So I'm no longer just talking about all of this information that I've learned. I am now actually using it and implementing it in my classroom and in our school building for other teachers to benefit from so they can successfully implement technology and all of these tools into their classrooms as well. With these artifacts, I did use an instructional design process, and the instructional design process that I used was ADDIE. At the beginning of this program, I was very new to the ADDIE model. I was not familiar with everything that process required, but I do realize looking back, now that I know what the ADDIE model is and what it represents, that I actually did use the ADDIE model for my very first project in ED 603. I can say that the majority of the projects that I have created through this program, I have incorporated the ADDIE model in some way. Now, I may not have known at the time that that's what I was doing, that I was doing the ADDIE model, but I can see looking back that I did use that model a majority of the time in the program. If it was not for my EDET 703 course, then I would not know what the ADDIE model was. Since that course had such an impact on my understanding of the ADDIE model, I decided to use that as one of the artifacts for my Standard 5. The AECT Standard 5 is about research. In my 703 course, we had to research and write a paper regarding the ADDIE model. Like I mentioned a second ago, I decided to use my ADDIE research paper as one of my artifacts because it helped build my base knowledge of the ADDIE model. Without completing this research paper, then I would not be as comfortable with ADDIE as I am, and I would not know the connection between the technology and the education aspect of using the ADDIE model to plan projects and to create assignments. ADDIE is a 5-step instructional design process. Learning about the ADDIE model has given me the opportunity to develop instructional materials in a more organized way. This research paper gave me the information that I needed to successfully finish this program. ADDIE is a 5-phase instructional design model that has allowed me the opportunity to create instructional materials in a more organized way. And believe it or not, at the time of writing this ADDIE research paper, I was actually going through some of the phases of the ADDIE model. Now, one of the bigger projects that I used the ADDIE model for was my Artifact 2 in Standard 5, which was done for my EDET 780 course. This assignment was our group research project for that class. For this project, it was a group project, and my group decided to discuss traditional learning versus blended learning. So we had to set up our own research study for this research topic, and in order to plan how this paper was going to go, we had to use the ADDIE model. We had to use the analysis phase to figure out what all we needed to include, what all was required, and then we used the design phase to start putting the order together, what needed to go where, who needed to do what, so everything could come together. Then we moved into our development stage where we actually developed a study that we would like to do regarding traditional learning versus blended learning. And while we did not implement this research study, I do believe that we did use the evaluation process of ADDIE because we still went back over our paper and said, okay, let's read this and make sure that what we are saying is what we want to do. So even though we can't say we evaluated it from the implementation, we still evaluated our paper based on what we had. So overall, after reflecting over the various projects that I have completed, I do feel like that I have shown growth from semester 1 to 2 years later to where I'm presenting my portfolio, and I hope that you see my growth through the artifacts that I have selected for each standard.